And we're back with the second half as we have number 36 Ben Phillips skate or jamming against number 316 Skate Pliskin. The box is empty, so I've jinxed them all, and alongside me as ever is Holly Sheet.
Hello. Our scores coming in are 94 to Team Wales and 38 to the Power of Scotland.
And this should continue, I think, as it did in the first half, with Scotland unfortunately struggling against these very, very tough box skaters as Ben Phillips picks up lead jammer there.
Skate Pliskin rushing around the outside not too long afterwards. Wales taken down to just 3 blockers as Ashton's making his way to the penalty box. Ben Phillips getting in tight there with that Power of Scotland trio. T-Virus, Tuff and Cronenberg just really slowing him down. And he calls that jam to an end. Just 3 points picked up.
I was chatting with just 3. Who cares about 3 points? It's not. It doesn't matter. It's 20. Sorry, I was chatting with one of the England skaters between the halves, and apparently their plan is for everyone to play at least 2 games.
Oh,
that's quite nice because they're really trying to put this weekend as a trial for their skaters.
yes.
And looking at the changes to the Scotland roster, I think they're doing a similar sort of thing, just trialling out skaters as Gibb and Red Baron, for example, have both come into this lineup.
It is the most sensible way to approach this weekend. As we said, there's no rankings.
Nope.
They're not going to go away apart from the beautiful medals and the trophy here, but it is best for them to test out exactly how their teams lie. And I know they've been training against themselves, so a lot of the teams will have split into half to do training scrimmages and things like that.
A lot of them have got sort of like training rosters of 30 to 35, and they're putting a lot of stuff internally. The risk with that is you're not pushing yourself hard enough.
Exactly. This is a very good testament as to how well people work together against complete opposition that they may not know too well, certainly not as well as they know their own team.
So it's also different style of game. The scrimmage isn't the same as a competitive game. People react differently. I think it's important to see people in a competitive game. As
Ben Phillips there was just trying to shunt Morris to the inside line, but Morris stayed on track, which was very Ben Phillips certainly not expecting that.
Morris here trying to find some way through. He keeps getting held up at the back, runs into Chronic, and that's never a nice place to be in Chronic's shouldering range. He's popped off this time by Butler.
Cutting penalty there issued to Ben Phillips. So we are going to see a power jam for Morris and Power of Scotland.
Gig here trying to break them apart, and he moves them out of the way. Oh, very nice little 180 spin there. It's looking at how Butler not happy there, asking for more communication.
Yeah, he was indeed. He is very much a driving member, the traditional what we'd have a pivot, so definitely a pack leader position.
Well, Butler was the bench manager for Team Wales at the last Men's World Cup. He is now eligible to skate for them and is. I spoke to him actually at the Men's World Cup. He was asking why he wasn't skating because he couldn't, because I felt there was a real lack of jammers for them at the first World Cup. And it does appear now that they've got a good glut of very competent jammers here.
They have indeed, as the scoreboard is currently stating. Scotland picking up 3 points in that last jam. That takes them up to 41 points, playing against Wales 98.
Yeah, and Scotland having the best of it so far this half.
Indeed. Nuke or Hutchinson now jamming for Team Power Scotland. And that's Ben Phillips released from the penalty box, knocked to the inside line by T.
Yeah, T-Virus there doing excellent work. Again, another one of those skaters who shouldn't be as strong as he is for his size.
Oh, both jammers exiting incredibly close to each other. There's only about 7 feet between them. Hutchinson picking up lead jammer for Power of Scotland and indeed stretching that gap between the 2 jammers out.
This is why Ben Phillips had to call the jam the last time, because Hutchinson is fast. Now, he doesn't look it, but he is. And it's not power, it's pure technique. His crossovers are fantastic. Lovely, long, deep crossovers. That just sounds...
An extra couple of points there for Scotland. They are now on 44 points to 98. Almost only half the score of Wales. So they are closing that gap.
Timeout called by Wales here. I think they're very aware of the fact that this is not going their way early doors. And I think it was mostly just to call me a liar more than anything else, because I did say I thought it would continue to did the first, and it isn't. This one, Scotland seem to have settled into it. I think they found the right rhythm. I don't think Wales came into this second half expecting Scotland to have found that rhythm.
We'd just like to give a shout out to Chaya, Premium Roller Skates, sponsoring part of the 4Nations tournament this weekend. Chaya, it's time.
I've stopped skating, so I'm out of the loop when it comes to kit. I have not heard anything about Chaya. We'll have to look into this now, won't I?
Do have a look into it. There's a stall here currently hosting the Chaya roller skates. So you've got certainly have a chance, Captain, to go down and have a look at the Chaya skates. But those of you who are listening to this feed, why don't you check them out online or speak to Double Threat Skates, who have got Chaya skates in stock.
But back to the action on track. Whitney is struggling this time. There's no space here. Cronenberg, Gig, and I believe that is Red Baron. Slowing it right down as Blockbeard gets out in front. Lee Jammer thumps his chest and shows off the Power of Scotland logo with pride.
Loads of pride here tonight, this weekend.
I think you always get a lot more pride when it comes to a home nations tournament such as this. There's a lot of, not bad blood, competitive spirit. Oh, Butler there sweeping in beautifully with a lovely shoulder check. Not known for his aggressive play as Butler compared to most of his teammates, but very effective.
Incredibly effective. The height on him is just the right height to almost be unseen, but still very effective.
They call him the English Ninja. Is that what they do?
I would not know.
If they don't, I'm totally telling Chronic later, and they probably will start.
That's 5 points for Scotland. So they are now 98, plays 49. Scotland are doing a very good job of holding Wales away from that century figure, but Wales have now come back with Ashby on the line.
This is the third jam that's been 3 jams in a row where Wales are yet to score. Ashby here probably going to, as he's just got lead jammer though.
Indeed, he is a very, very good jammer at getting lead. He's very good at just powering his way through and getting that.
He's quite the slender skater. I think he slips through gaps that a lot of the more bigger, stronger jammers struggle with. But there is the 5 points, and that is triple digits for Wales.
Yeah, a little spin and a twist by Ashby to work his way through. Looking back into the pack, Horndog has taken the star off. Still very visible though with that bright orange helmet, and has passed it on to Optimus Grime, who just jumps his way over Burrows for Team Wales.
Burrows doesn't look happy about it. I think there's a little bit of incidental contact to the face. It wasn't intentional in any way, shape or form. But it's just one of those things that does happen, unfortunately, secondary contacts.
And there we have the century figure broken by Wales. They are on 107 points to Scotland's 49. What we do have to bear in mind is that Wales only have 1 timeout as well. Scotland still have all 3 timeouts, and both teams have official reviews for this half if they wish to use them. 23 minutes 20 seconds to go. Skate Pliskin lining up now against Ben Phillips.
36 plays 316. Another one of those lovely number things I enjoy so much. Ben Phillips, though, through the pack with ease, lead jammer Wales. Skate Pliskin is heading to the bin for the back block. Oh, no, elbows. The OPR indicated back block. I'm not going to take the blame for that one.
He's definitely going to that penalty box regardless.
He got a penalty, that much to be sure on.
Ben Phillips been knocked to the outside and recycled back behind turn number 2, having to work his way through again. But now Wales have got that goat. So just a trio for Scotland up at the front. T-Virus trying to hold him back, but T-Virus getting right on top of him. Very angry call there by the referees for a no pack.
I like a clear out of play call. It makes me happier than a not clear. Chronic heading to the bin there. Not sure. I think possibly a multiplayer. Red Baron showing his experience, not going to play that game. Waits until he comes in clean, comes on with the offense to help out Skate Pliskin, who bounces off Lewis, runs into some strong blocking from Butler and Ashton. Runs back into Butler, who's isolated at the front of the pack on his own.
Ooh. Shuffles down to the ground, but he picks himself back up. Butler's trying to take him out as well. But Skate Pliskin carries on, and that's his initial pass completed. I absolutely love it when I see skaters using the rules to their advantage. It's one of my favourite things. So there, when we saw Red Baron stepping himself off the track, it's my favourite thing.
It's smart play. It's not and I hope he forgives me for saying this, the ballistic style of using the walls really smartly, so it's almost like that shouldn't be allowed, and then very promptly becomes not allowed. or that's also the New York Shock Exchange trick as well, I believe. But just using the very established rules of I don't have to come into play until there's an out of play, and I won't. And I love that. It's showing a good level of experience. So I hope the guys at New York Shock Exchange and Ballistic, if you are listening, do forgive me for that. Singling you guys out for your incredibly clever use of the rules.
Kyler and Jones now on the track. Both of them were aiming for that outside line. Jones just getting a little bit more caught up, and it's Kyler who picks up lead jammer for Power of Scotland. Jones about a third of a lap behind him as the pack starts to pick up pace. Yep.
I'm liking this Kyler. Every time I see him skate, I like him more and more. He's very much impressing me. As one of those skates. Oh, did he get points though? Did he get points as he ends up all the way across the track?
He was lifted off the ground a good half a foot there.
I think that was the gentleman's of the most lovely hair in Clark and Jenkins.
Yeah, that was definitely airspace. If he was a vert skater, he'd be loving the amount that he got there. But taken straight off through the NSO clutter, and as you said, almost straight into the crowd.
This is a bit of official time here, whilst the rest trying to discuss to clear that one out. Resagul gives nothing. No points. Nil point. So excellent work there by the brothers of wonderful hair, the L'Oreal advert gentlemen as they are.
I do believe that may have been due to the lifting, because of course, unless you land
inbound
upright, you don't receive those points. So well done to Wales on just causing the flight of the jammer there.
One of the skaters I'm singling out here personally for marked improvement is Clark, number 43 for Wales. I've seen him skate for the better part of the last 3 or 4 years, from being almost a very timid, the frightened Bambi on skates we all are our first game, to being a solid blocker here today. He's very much impressing me with his fluidity and pack awareness. I'm really, really impressed by him. Hopefully if we get to pick our own sort of best tournament team, he's getting the nod from me so far in this game. Of course, now that I've jinxed him, he'll play terribly for the rest of the tournament. I did it to Matt Lovin at the first MEC tournament. Said, as long as he doesn't get expelled, or he's going to get MVP, and then he got expelled.
Oh dear. Well, we can't control the actions of the skaters.
It's the jinx.
We can just tell you exactly what's going on right now. That's all we can do. And right now, we're still having this official timeout.
It's still lots of conversation. I mean, Rasagul did give 0 points, but it looks like it's being questioned with the head referee still. So this will carry on as needed.
We've been talking quite a lot about the level of the skaters here. I mean, the level of the officials we've got is extremely high as well.
Yeah, I think this makes me, unfortunately, when I'm not reffing these large tournaments, I kind of feel like I expect more with the rest. I'm so used to this incredible level of refereeing you see at these major tournaments, that when I'm a reffing, a double header somewhere in the middle of nowhere, I expect so much more, because the reffing at this level is insane. They see things I've never even heard of. But back to the action on track as number 36 Phillips takes on number 46 Blockbeard, another one of those lovely number things. And Chronic is just in his usual position, inverted at the front of the pack with Butler braced off him as Ben Phillips runs through the inside.
Inverted does sound like he's doing a handstand, but
he's probably the effective upside down. It's Chronic we're talking about.
Oh, beautiful work there by Blockbeard to stay in off of that hit by Ashton.
Gibb going down hard there as Ashton heads to the bin for a direction of gameplay, I believe. So a very gentle hand motion.
Scores now 121 to Wales, 54 to Scotland. We've just passed the 10 minutes in this half, so 20 minutes, just under 20 minutes left in this game. A very close lineup here. Got Hutchinson lined up against Ashby. You've got your 9s playing there. 9 plays 19.
Another one of those wonderful number things.
I don't think we can get away from them with the lineups that we've got.
This is true.
Oh, wow.
Scotland did not shut down that inside line. That is a rookie mistake, but Hutchinson is no slouch. He will make that time up. And Ashby wanted jammer on jammer, and that's a rookie mistake against Hutchinson.
It did look to me like Ashby was having some trouble coming around turn number 3, whether it was the floor or whether it was his skates. I know he's holding his skates up a little bit as he's skating back, so he definitely had a bit of a wobble. I think that's what turned him round.
Maybe it was tactical then. Okay.
It may be, yeah, I think it may have been tactical that he thought, I can't skate this one out.
Maybe
I'll see if I can face him off.
Well, Hutchinson's won pretty much every foot race he's been in today. So I think it's not really worth trying to get into that situation against him.
No. Now we've got Whitney on the line against Matheson. One blocker down for Team Wales. They're doing a very good job in the three, holding Matheson back, but Optimus Grime is shunting Whitney off that inside line. Ashton now coming back in with Whitney trying to clear that inside for him, and it's Matheson at the front picking up lead jammer.
Yeah, Whitney went piling into Optimus Grime, and there came Chronic to knock him down from the outside to the in.
Oof.
But Grime's back and takes Whitney almost into the suicide seats. But not legally. Forearms penalty for Mr. Grime.
Matheson
going for a
misconduct penalty. Now I did hear the whistle as soon as he hit the back of the Welsh wall.
It could be the unfortunate one where you're in midair and you collide with someone because you're actually bouncing from one skate to the other. I have seen those happen a few times. As we've got Ashton here, takes the star pass and comes out, rounds the hips of Morris Kronenberg, but Gibbs going to the bin as well.
He was on a bounce there, making sure he got under both sets of hips.
Yeah, Kronenberg is big but very upright when he comes in with his hips. So you can get low enough, you can get past him.
As he just demonstrated there, Ashton doing a very good job. Now, Kronenberg at the front, Morris at the back, so Wales have managed to split the Scottish defence up. Oh, going under his own teammates' arms, but being knocked to the outside.
Whitney caught napping there and ate the Optimus Grime shoulder of death. Which is any time he touches you pretty much, I'm not going to lie.
Matheson back out from the penalty box, doing his best on that inside line, but it shuts down. This time Wales not going to fall for that again. He's up on the outside line, and he's given a good old shunt out there by Chronic.
Yeah, it was excellent work there by Whitney to slow him down first, feed him into Chronic, the hammer and anvil tactic. Kronenberg trying to stop the run back.
Now, Wales didn't actually drop back too far. I know Butler was already towards the back, but Chronic staying up front with a solid 3 to make sure there was still that defensive play at the front, not stretching out that pullback.
Yeah, it's a risk versus reward situation. It's always one of those situations where it's a bit tricky. Do you want to risk the run back? Because a player like Grime, maybe, you'd run him back as far as you can because he's not got the amazing agility to just run through you. But if you sit there with a 4 wall, he's going to push through. Whereas you wouldn't do that to someone like Ashby. He is far too agile. You need to have that strong 4 or braced 3 or braced 4. So those tricky situations that is always interesting about roller derby.
There's so much to be interesting about roller derby. It's playing in Wales' favour at the moment. They're currently standing on 141 points with a 20-point jam in that last jam, up against 59 points for Power of Scotland. Power of Scotland just taking themselves a team timeout, and they are 3/4 of the way through that timeout already. So it's not going to be too long before we start seeing some action back on the track.
Well, they'll always have the 30 seconds at the end of the team timeout.
Yeah, but yeah.
You know how it is with these bench managers and their very, very clever calls and all that sort of thing.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I've seen bench managers stand next to jam times and wait for 1 second before
I have never done that.
Yeah. Liar.
So we have a power start here for Power of Scotland, and it is Horn Dog taking the jammer line, the rest of the pack up towards the pivot line.
This should be interesting. Horn Dog's run a little bit hot and cold today, and sometimes he's been really effective and sometimes not so much. It's very dependent on how you go about it. I mean, I think having Jenkins here braced off Burrows and now Burrows braced off Jenkins really minimises. Oh! He went off track, so it's fine.
Yep. He was already awarded lead jammer prior to exiting the track.
So it's all gravy.
Absolutely. Lead jammer status still there for Horn Dog.
Here comes the Scottish offence, but it's only Red Baron because Ashton is coming back on track.
And that's not been forceful enough to push the Welsh team apart or forwards. Horn Dog now up against all 4 of them. Jones taken off for a multiplayer block. And Horn Dog now trying to work his way around the outside, but the inside line open wide enough. Ashton works his way through. Horn Dog realising that inside was open, also taking that. And seeing Ashton ahead and in a scoring position calls that jam to an end. Just a single set of points. 5 points for Scotland. They're on 64. Playing Wales is 141, and we've got just over a quarter of this game left.
That's still winnable.
It absolutely is. But with the way Scotland are playing, they need to keep their momentum going. They're getting into little rifts of being able to score and call off.
Yeah.
But they're only scoring single passes rather than the big sets of passes that Wales have been able to pull off.
I'm going to argue the case, as I did in the first game against England, that Scotland just aren't pushing out enough offence when they need offence.
I completely agree with you.
They're not committing to it. I mean, I've always argued if you're losing the game, the best defence is not defence. The best is to get your jammer out as fast as possible, as we have a no pass, no penalty award to Phillips, so he's out, not lead jammer. Hutchinson is, though, and calls it straight away, showing that experience. But they're going to rest them a bit more. The thing you've got here, as I was saying, is if they just went all-out offense, 4-0, got their jammer out, that's going to get the jammer out and force Wales to call it, which saves you more points than trying to do 1-0 3D for 3 scoring passes for Wales.
It's the way my brain would think, certainly. But again, as you said, we know that all the teams here are going to be testing their team play. They may be testing their tactics as well. And Scotland do still have to play France tomorrow, so they may decide to change up their tactics and see how it works for them.
In the rock, paper, scissors of roller derby, I actually think that the France game will be Scotland's best chance, I believe, because of the way they play roller derby. I think it's going to be more conducive to their style and allow them to score more points. Much in the same way I think Wales will cause England more problems than anyone else. Ooh!
Jammer on
not happy about that.
No, not at all. I mean, both jammers not benefiting from that move at all.
Yeah, Ashby's taking some strong, not going to say revenge hits, but definitely you did that to our jammer, we're going to make you suffer for that hit.
Yeah, protective hits.
Yeah, well, that's what we're there for. Here comes the offense from Burrows, probably the oldest man playing here this tournament at 49 years of age.
I thought it was Sutton's birthday, and somebody told me he's 65.
Probably. Sutton is as old as time, I believe.
Yes. That jam called to an end, 0 points to 0, so the scores stay where they are.
Yeah, for those of us of the French season, that's nil point.
Oh, those years of Eurovision have paid off. We're going to see Optimus Grime here face up against Ben Phillips. Now, this is probably going to be your closest powerhouses.
No. If they make Burrows jam.
Oh, yes. I don't know if they will, but I think this is the most likely powerhouse lineup that you'll see here.
This is true. Unless Chronic just takes the wrong panty at one point.
Chronic is not going to take either of the pivot or the jammer helmet covers at any point ever. Optimus Grime knocked to that inside line, which allows Ben Phillips to take the outside, and he is just faster than Kyler and able to pick up lead jammer. Big hit to Peter Butler there, taking him to the inside line. Optimus Grime again knocked to the outside this time, and Ben Phillips just able to step over Kyler as he comes in for that hit.
I think Red Baron went there for a misconduct penalty. I'm sure I saw the arm across the chest.
There's been quite a few misconducts being called. As you said earlier, I believe it may be the attempted offense or hits with the feet off the ground, as a lot of them are getting lifted off of this ground. Optimus Grime breaking free on that inside line. Ben Phillips realising as such, wants to save his energy, calls that jam to an end. Wales had already picked up 8 points in total in that jam, bringing them to 149, and we've got just under 11 and a half minutes left in this game. We're going to see Blockbeard, been very effective for Power of Scotland, up against Jones, who's done quite a lot of blocking, more so in the past 10-20 minutes.
Showing a good double threat. I think it's one of those things like, not just to see how you work tactically for jammers, but also to see how people can work in different roles, because sometimes you may need to put out a blocker heavy line more than having out your best jammers. I can't think of putting that in a better way, really. Not too worried about them defensively, but worried about their jammers. For example, Japan have very dangerous jammers, but not so strong defensively with the blockers from the last year's team anyway. So I think maybe that's the sort of thing you might want to look at, keeping a strong blocker line and maybe fielding a second string jammer line. But Blockbeard out first, lead jammer.
Yep, he had almost broke about 20 seconds earlier.
Jones has lost his entire rear truck. And we are going to see Burrows jam. Yep. Jones hobbling off track with 3 out of his 4 skate trucks.
The trucks in the middle are being held by the NSO crews. They came out so to try and be safer. Burrows now coming around the outside line, trying to push his way around, gets around Berridge.
I'm going to point out Burrows here famously jammed against the New York Shock Exchange for 3 minutes. Because
3 minutes?
The jam timer was enjoying it so much he forgot to check the time.
Brilliant.
I had fun announcing that game.
And that is a set of 4 points there for Burrows and Team Wales.
And I think that's 3 points there for Scotland. That is 3 indeed.
So that brings Scotland up to 7. Scotland winning that jam 153-71, however, and we've just tipped under the 10-minute mark of this game.
Oh, that's a nice thing to see. Their skate Pliskin helping Whitney out there with his pivot panty. That's always a pleasure to see those little bits of support.
It is indeed, considering that it could be a tactical advantage if the helmet cover wasn't on properly for Team Wales. It's all played in very good spirits here, though.
There was a game I remember with former Team Wales skater Sam Clements. He had 5 scoring passes with the jammer panty on inside out.
And
got
not
no
reversible.
points.
Oh, dear.
Yep.
Oh, dear.
And he was just really confused why the scores weren't going up.
Some solid blocking there by Ashton and Butler, but they're unable to hold back Skate Pliskin. Ashton and Butler sounds like an 80s duo of sorts.
Which Ashton and
Butler.
Oh yeah. Well, it was Lewis, I think it's just Butler. Lewis and Butler sounds like a bookmakers.
Oh, and Skate Pliskin will be picking up that cutting. He put both hands outside of the track boundaries before he picked himself back up. So that's a cut. Power jam now over to Ashton.
That is an unfortunate penalty to get.
And Ashton just double checking where he can come back on track. He doesn't want to give that power jam back.
Well, T-Virus was just running them back. That's why. Nearly caught Butler out as well. Cronenberg there showing why he is a monstrous powerhouse of strength as well, with a little short trick knocking Butler to the ground, and then on his own at the back still being able to take out Ashton.
Asks his team to come back. They're unable to do so, and now Cronenberg being goated by Team Wales as Ashton pushing up at the front.
He's like the second worst person to pick to goat from Team Scotland.
Ashton trying to do some ballet moves around the outside, but Tough takes him down. T-Virus also blocking in. Beautifully done, however. Ashton keeps himself on and spins himself back around. 5 points there for Team Wales. And we have had a beautiful over-the-top star pass to Horn Dog by Skate Pliskin. He did have the helmet cover in the back of his leggings before he passed it over.
Yeah, I did clock that. I didn't want to say anything about. Yeah, we saw. It's just don't put it near your face.
Yeah.
I mean, you can always say that about anyone's helmet panties, though. I've never known a pair of helmet panties aren't brand new that I wouldn't want near my face.
14 points for Wales in that jam, 4 for Scotland. That puts the scores 167-75, and we've just dipped under 7 minutes left in this game.
Oh, no, tries to run down the inside. Doesn't quite have his feet under him and falls apart. But Keelia here now with the star and the lead jammer for the power of Scotland.
Oh,
Runs into Clark's monstrous shoulder as a back block does indeed send Mr. Ashby to the bin.
so this is Power of Scotland in a very advantageous position here. They've already completed initial pass. They are lead jammer and they have a power jam. Oh, very close. Oh, no.
Oh, that's unlucky. I think his skate just sort of rotated out of the track, taken back in.
It is something that happens. We have seen quite a lot of cutting penalties from all teams across the board here today.
I don't think there's rope under the tape. I think that's probably why. If it is tiny. It might just be like a folding the tape. But it doesn't look like there's much of it. I'm kind of going to have an investigation, I feel, in a minute. Grime there almost went clockwise into Jenkins, but Jenkins did initiate, so no penalty. Matheson tries to chase him down, but Grime had already gone back, so he had no extension of pack. There comes the massive shoulder from number 12, Gig. It's not enough offense again. This is the takeaway I'm having here from Team Scotland. is their offense is limited. And it needs to be more of it. But Ashby going for another back block. That's 2 this jam alone.
That is 2 in this jam. I think he's coming in hard and heavy to try and push his shoulders through, but just not aiming in the right direction and picking up those back block penalties. Optimus Grime now with the star cover on his helmet. He's going to be coming in to see if he can collar a few more points. We do only have 5 seconds left on the
he does
clock.
make his way through, picking up those 5 points. If I were the Power of Scotland, I would be taking the time between now and Calgary and talking to the Skelpies of Scotland. They have developed what they talk about as their constant offense style of skating, and it is very effective. And I think that I don't know if the entire tactic would work for the Power of Scotland, but I definitely believe they need to take that constant swarm offense from them and utilise that. Not enough is being shown to break apart these walls for Wales.
Yeah,
and
I agree completely with you, and I mean they've just been noticing it, as they played against Team England. There was the chance for them to take some of that across. It may take tonight for them to digest exactly what's gone on today, bearing in mind they only had that regime game in between their 2 games today, so not a lot of time to digest, take on board what's happened, how they can benefit from what they're doing here today. But they might be able to come back tomorrow and show us that they've learnt and they're going to be doing stuff from it.
Well, if not at least tomorrow against France, maybe after they've watched the footage from today and tomorrow and heard us talk about it, maybe they'll take that again. I'm sure at some point I'll have a word with Milky or Mr. Matheson as well, probably propping up a bar somewhere and discuss it with them.
You just want to go drinking with Team Scotland.
But they're so biggy. I've got to sit down an appointment with Red Baron to take a look at my beard after this game because it's got this kink in it just on the left side. You see, it just won't go away. I think it's damaged. I might need a professional help.
Oh dear. Wales currently 171 points, Scotland on 80. We've got just coming up to the last 3 minutes of the game. Horn Dog playing up against Ashton. And Scotland down to just 3 blockers on the track. Ashton makes his way very steadily around the outside line, making sure he's not breaking up his own defensive wall.
Yeah, he's moving quite well laterally here to try and keep himself in, but he's also been brought all the way back now from the Hound Dog trying the same problem. He has no space here, and it's making it very, very difficult to make his way through.
Oof. Ashton lower than the hips of Skate Pliskin, picking up lead jammer. Horn Dog just on one skate around the outside, almost a whole straight there. So he breaks free as well, but he's about half a lap behind Ashton. He's now fighting his way around Red Baron and Skate Pliskin there, just managing to knock him off. And a couple of points picked up by Wales.
Taking a look at the predictions that we made about this game, Holly is close.
Ooh,
Holly
yeah.
predicted Wales to win by 100 points, and she's very, very close to getting there.
Yeah, if they just have another 7 points in 2
minutes.
minutes, I will be a happy bunny.
I predicted 125, so I'm hoping for 32 points in the next 2 minutes.
By Scotland.
No, by Wales.
By Wales,
Yep.
ooh.
Fingers crossed anyway.
Ben Phillips now up against Optimus Grime. And Optimus Grime just powering his way through at the front.
They're too deep on the brace there, and he's still moving them.
He was indeed, but managing to get him knocked off. Butler is now bringing him back almost to the jammer line, and Ben Phillips has had that opportunity to pick up lead jammer for Team Wales.
It's very rare that you
Ooh.
see someone like Chronic just fly backwards,
It's very rare.
but they let Grime get speed up. That's foolish. He is the juggernaut of roller derby. Once he gets momentum...
And a 0-0 jam there.
Ooh, Ben
So
Phillips there wisely calling that off then.
very
because
wisely
Grime
calling
was
off.
coming at a pace.
He was also he had quite a lot of difficulties, knocked out a couple of times and recycled back himself. And we're going into the last minute of this game.
7 points and you get the perfect prediction. I've been 1 point off before. 1 point.
Well, the teams know I don't do very good maths, so they have to round it off really nicely for me. Skate Pliskin now jamming against Ashby.
And Ashby struggling to find some space there. Tough right up against him, as is Gibb. Ashby down, Skate Pliskin at the front, no pass, no penalty. He's saying, shh, don't tell no one. I'm sneaking through.
Little kiss out to the crowd.
I like him playing up to the crowd. It's in a good
it's not overly showboating. It's not
yeah,
taking away from his speed or anything else. But it does get the audience behind him.
And that's what you like to have. It's just like Jonathan R with his thumbs up to the crowd is nice. There's the cut track. This jam will go for the full 2 minutes now, as Skate Pliskin was your lead.
He was not lead. He was not awarded lead. So Ashby picking up lead jammer as he comes out the front of the pack.
And you just need to pick up 7 points. That's a 5 and a 2. Or maybe you'll get a 4 and a 3 with a no pass, no penalty. We shall see.
Well, he has got no time on the period clock.
He's got
it's just the jam
seconds.
clock, indeed. Just the jam clock to go. It's Farron Ashby just now fighting his way through. Wales have come to a standstill, allowing Ashby to just keep pushing and breaking his way through. And he calls that to an end. I'm going not happy.
Oh, you need
Ashby,
to have words.
my word.
Well, if that stays as it is, because there's always the bits of maths that have to happen at the end. Oh, see, he needed a second scoring pass. If he'd done a second scoring pass of 5,
yes,
you'd have been the perfect prediction.
Ashby, you had time as well, my son.
But you're in the bad books, Mr. Ashby.
Our predictions aside, currently the scores are just being tallied by the referees. And if there's no change, we've got handshakes all round by the looks of it. Now we'll put the final scores. Wales 178 points, Scotland 83.
And King Crazy will be on standby here to present the Celtic Cup to Team Wales.
Which is being sponsored by Talk Derby to me. The beautiful teamwork by Wales. As you said, slightly more fluid than England when they were playing.
England were fluid on track, but I think Wales were more fluid tactically. They were happy to shift and move with how the game played. England play that very rigid, regimented style, which is incredibly restrictive. And just that's why Scotland scored so few points and scored so many in this one. I don't think the gulf in talent between Wales and England is that high. I just think they play very different styles of derby.
So a 95-point differential between the two teams, not quite the 100 points.
I predicted 125, so I think we all sold the Welsh a little short here. But those are your final scores. The final game of the day, which you'll be able to watch straight after this, as we're watching it not live, will be
You may have watched it already. It's completely up to you.
You might have watched all the France games first. You never know. But it will be France versus England.
We are just going to have a look at the presentation of the Celtic Cup. As the teams go round for their high fives, we're going to welcome Scotland to the track first of all. That's 2 games that they've played today. They will have the game against France tomorrow, so they've got this next game the opportunity for them to sit back and relax, but also take on board France's tactics and how they're playing.
And I'm just looking at the French roster here. There's a lot of names I've never seen before. This is a very changed Team France.
Yeah, Team France pulling from 3 main French teams.
Toulouse, Pan Am.
And the Quads.
Oh, the Quads. Well, they were the team I seemed to announce most at the last World Cup, and I am not recognising a fair few of these names. It's always good to see new skaters.
It is indeed. And as derby progresses, we will see other people progressing as well.
Looks like we're just going to have the fathers handshaking.
So thank you for keeping tuned to us. I've been Holly.
And I have been Captain Malice. And next up, as I said, will be France versus England.